My business partner forged my signature. He used it to transfer my half of the company into his name. He thought it was over. He didn't know I'd kept copies of everything he ever signed. Every email, every contract, every receipt. This is the story of how the man who tried to erase me from the company we built together ended up erasing his own future instead. 3 years ago, I had nothing but an idea and $12,000 in savings. Daniel had something I didn't: connections, charm, and a way of making people trust him before they had a reason to. We built a logistics software company together. I wrote the code. He found the clients. For 2 years, it worked. We split everything 50-50 on paper, in writing, in trust. By year 3, the company was processing $4 million a year in contracts. And that's exactly when Daniel decided 50% wasn't enough anymore. It started small. He stopped copying me on emails to investors. He started taking client calls alone to save time, he said. Then he asked me to sign a document. He called it a routine compliance update, something about updating our registered address with the state. I signed it without reading every line. I trusted him. That was my mistake. 3 weeks later, I noticed my access to the company bank account had been restricted. Then my login to our client management system stopped working. Then a payment I was expecting, my half of a contract we'd just closed, never arrived. I called Daniel. He didn't pick up. I called our accountant. She sounded uncomfortable. She said she wasn't authorized to discuss account changes with me anymore. That sentence is when I understood. I wasn't a partner anymore. Not on paper. I requested copies of the documents from the state registration office. The document I signed, the one I thought was a compliance update, was actually an ownership transfer. My signature was real. The page above it had been swapped. He'd forged my signature onto a different agreement and filed it as the original. He had taken 60% of a company I built from nothing, using a signature I gave him in good faith. I sat in my apartment for 2 days. I didn't call a lawyer. Not yet. Because I remembered something Daniel didn't know I remembered. 2 years earlier, when we were just 2 people with a shared laptop and no money for proper contracts, I'd made a habit. Every single document Daniel ever asked me to sign, I scanned and saved. Every email he sent asking me to, just sign this quickly. Every version of every contract, dated, time-stamped, backed up in 3 different places. I had 11 different drafts of our original partnership agreement. I had the email where Daniel wrote, in his own words, "We're 50-50, always have been. That's never changing." I had everything. I didn't go to Daniel. I went straight to a corporate lawyer with a folder containing 2 years of evidence. She read through it for 20 minutes without saying a word. Then she looked up and said, "This isn't a contract dispute. This is forgery, and we can prove it." We filed for an emergency injunction to freeze all company assets and ownership transfers. The forensic document examiner confirmed it within a week. The signature page had been digitally altered. Daniel had used software to lift my signature from one document and paste it onto another. He'd been so confident I'd never check that he hadn't even bothered to hide his tracks well. The court froze the company's accounts. Daniel's new investors, the ones he'd brought in after pushing me out, pulled out within days. Nobody wants to fund a man under a forgery investigation. The case settled before trial. Daniel signed over full ownership of the company back to me, plus a settlement to cover legal fees and lost revenue from the months I'd been locked out. He didn't go to prison. Forgery cases like this rarely end that way when a settlement is reached. But he lost everything he tried to take: the company, the investors, the reputation he'd spent years building in a small industry where everyone eventually talks to everyone. Last I heard, he's selling software demos for a company that has no idea what he did. I still run the business. It's bigger now than it ever was when we built it together. People who betray you always make the same mistake. They assume you're as careless with the truth as they are. Keep your records, keep your proof, keep everything. Because karma doesn't always come for people. Sometimes you have to bring the paperwork yourself.